Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, from around the world. This is the movie Insurrectionist. We discuss the evils of colonialism and the tragedy of the collaborator named Zoe Saldana, who identifies with it. We'll talk about her. Ladies and gentlemen, from around the world. Excuse me 1 second. This is the movie Insurrectionist. We discuss the evils of colonialism and the tragedy of the collaborator. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, from around the world. Today we discuss the evils of colonialism and the tragedy of the collaborator Zoe Saldana, who identifies with it. We'll talk about her, Avatar, Fire, and Ash, and why we cannot have collaborators representing foundational Black Americans and media. This is the movie Insurrectionist. Happy holidays and welcome to the movie Insurrectionist. I am your host, Rashad, and thank you for tuning in to our latest live stream. This is Sunday following Saturnalia, or Christmas for those of you that believe in the Christian faith. And today, we're discussing the tragedy of Zoe Saldana and what happens when a collaborator is allowed to speak for the people. Zoe, of course, is a star of the wildly popular Avatar series. She portrays the character Neytiri, the ultimate freedom fighter against a colonial power looking to take over her planet, Pandora. And Zoe currently stars in the latest installment of the Avatar series, Avatar, Fire, and Ash, which has raked in over $500 million in 1 week of its theatrical run. And Zoe has starred in other blockbuster movies that include Star Trek, Guardians of the Galaxy, and Avengers Endgame. She has quite the resume. I'm not here to disparage her, frankly. I do respect it, but I'm here to discuss a problem that I see with her and other Black folks, specifically of her background. Zoe, of course, is not FBA. She sees herself as Afro-Latina, which is what she is. Now, there's nothing wrong with being Afro-Latina, but there's a problem with many members of the Afro-Latino community because too many of them only want to identify with being Black when it's convenient and there's a pot of gold at the end of the tunnel. First, let me be clear. If you're on code and Afro-Latino, I am not speaking about you. I want to put that disclaimer out there because I don't want people coming to my channel saying how I'm disparaging Afro-Latinos. I'm not talking about every single Afro-Latino. Nothing is absolute. But there are a number of individuals of the Afro-Latino community that do some of the things that I'm talking about, and that's what this broadcast is focused on. There are some on-code Afro-Latinos that don't play this game of Black when they can get a scholarship to attend a HBCU, or I'm Black and I play being Black to get a job working for the government, or I'm Black when I need to apply for a business grant, or I'm Black when I need to jumpstart my career in America, which is what Zoe Saldana basically did. So this conversation isn't about those Black folks who come from the Latin American, African diaspora who don't do those things. I'm not speaking about them. I am talking about Afro Latinos like Gina Torres, the Coleman Hugheses of the world, whose real name is Coleman Cruz, and of course, the subject of this broadcast, Zoe Saldana. Now, Zoe has made it a point to alert the world that the problem is not the colonizer, but the colonized who doesn't want to be oppressed. She uses vernacular that she used to describe the colonizer in context of the colonized. With that said, I need you all to pay attention. I want you all to pay attention to your screen. This is a interview that Zoe Saldana recently did with Collider. And Ms. Saldana discusses the role of Neytiri in the Avatar series, in the newest Avatar movie, Fire and Ash, which I have no problem with. However, she decided to provide her unsolicited opinion about racism and how it's implicated in a worldly, or in this case, intergalactic system of white supremacy. And as my brother, Jason Black of the Black Authority, once said, if you want to know what a black person believes in their hearts of hearts, let a white person ask them. Or in this case, a half white, half Asian person ask them. I want you guys to go ahead and check this out. Fair use.
To do it with them.
And one thing I really like about your storyline in this movie is actually Neytiri's relationship, which is kind of complicated with Spider.
Yes.
Because what is it like playing that journey out from just tolerance to acceptance for her character?
I mean,
well, first off, when she talks about Spider, for those of you who haven't seen the movie, Spider is a character within the Avatar films. He debuted in the Way of the Water. Spider is one of the sky people, a human being that is living among the Na'vi, the native people over in Pandora, which is the character that Zoe Saldana represents. He's a human being, and in fact, he is the son of their arch enemy, the Colonel, that was put on task to wage war against them. And starting from the last film, The Way of the Water, if you've seen it, Spider has been somewhat of an issue for Neytiri because he's not one of them, and his presence creates all sorts of danger. They'll keep coming to retrieve him, and not only will they come to retrieve him, but if they capture him, he can tell them all sorts of information about their locations. He knows the ways of their people. And on top of that, he flat out is not one of them. He's human. So he can always go back to his human family. And that's one of the things that Neytiri is concerned about. This plays out as a big theme and as a larger concern in Avatar, Fire and Ash. And that's the question of what she's asking in his interview. Let's continue.
Neytiri's a full-blown racist in this movie. That's exactly, I was discussing it with Jim, and I think it was
You guys heard that, right? Neytiri was a full-blown racist. That's what she actually said. This has been something that a lot of people have been talking about online. It's been very controversial, but I'll go back and I'll play it one more time.
exactly, I was discussing it with Jim, and I think it was important. I was discussing this in this movie. Neytiri's a full-blown racist in this movie. That's exactly, I was discussing it with Jim.
Full-blown racist. You heard it again. She referred to her character as a full-blown racist. Now, into context, what exactly does racism actually mean? What is it? Dr. Martin Luther King Jr. defined racism as prejudice plus power. And Dr. Frances Cress Welsing, she identified racism as white supremacy. And in the system of white supremacy, whether it be here on Earth or whether it be intergalactic, the only people that can actually practice racism are white people, because racism is dependent on systems that they have created, that they control, they dominate, whether it be religion, whether it be economics, religion, education, the military, or power. In the case of Neytiri, is she a racist, or is she just responding to an onslaught of all of these individuals, these foreigners, these colonists who have decided to wage war and genocide on her people? Her homeland's been burnt down. Her father has been murdered. Her mother is exiled. And at the end of the first Avatar movie, moving into the second one, her being a forest dweller, her and her people, they live in the forest, they have to leave. And specifically, her family has to leave because these sky people have decided to wage war on them continuously and destroy everything that she stood for. And on top of that, at the end of Avatar, The Way of the Water, the second one, spoilers alert for those of you who haven't seen it, her son passes away and she dies. He dies, excuse me. So considering the fact that this is an individual that has had her whole entire world turned upside down, inside out, and this war is being waged on her, is she really a racist? Or is she responding to the colonizers, or responding to the people or the colonizers that have waged war against her? Spider is one of these people. Her husband, Jake Scully, is actually one of these people. So that doesn't sound like racism to me. That doesn't sound like racism to me. Who is Neytiri subjugating? Who is Neytiri depriving resources from? Who is Neytiri sitting up and telling that you can't be a part of this group or that group, and we're going to deny you of your humanity simply because you exist? That doesn't sound like racism to me. It sounds like she's responding to colonialism. But of course, when we're dealing with Zoe Saldana and individuals of her ilk, this is how they talk. Up is down, down is up. And according to her, if you are a oppressed person who stands up against your oppressor, you're racist. If you try to gatekeep your culture, you're racist. This is her mindset. Let's continue.
And I think it was important for me to not run away from that for her. This is a woman that has experienced an extreme amount of loss at the hands of a race, of a species that she recognizes as her own, and she doesn't understand. She doesn't want to accept them, and yet she falls in love with one of them and has a family with them. So she is being challenged, and her faith is being challenged.
That part's very interesting. She falls in love with one of them. She falls in love with one of them and has a family with them. She falls in love with one of them and has a family with them. So here she is, Neytiri, as Zoe Saldana is explaining it. One of the colonized who's fighting the colonist. And she decided to lie down, literally, with her enemy. Because if you've seen the first one, and I also, and I'm giving spoilers to you guys, you haven't seen it. So if you haven't seen it, you probably want to not listen to this live stream, because I'm giving massive spoilers for the first two and some spoilers for the third Avatar movie. But if you watch the first movie, Jake Sully was actually sent to Pandora as an infiltrator. Just like the Sigourney Weaver character, I can't remember her name, she was also sent as an infiltrator. These people were not sent to be friends with the Na'vi people. They were sent to pacify the Na'vi people. And those of us, including myself, who are students of history, and we understand how colonialism actually works and operates, this is how colonialism was actually done in Africa. And actually in the Americas, but I'll speak about how colonialism actually worked within Africa. When the white man the European, when he decided that he was going to colonize Africa, they didn't come in with guns and ships and bullets and soldiers with bitter animosity and hostility looking to kill everyone. They first sent their intellectual class, the priest that learned their language and their customs. They became their trusted advisors and allies, people that would share and possibly trade different things that they had to offer with the people that were there. And there was always a hidden agenda behind that. The hidden agenda was that you're going to bend to our will either the easy way, which is you assimilate to what we want, or the hard way, which is we're going to come with the Maxim gun and mow down all of your warrior class, and then we'll deal with the women and children afterwards. That's how colonialism was done. Jake Sully in the first Avatar movie was a part of this. And one of the problems I've had about the Avatar movie, which people have talked about, is that he's been made into the white savior trope that you see in movies, specifically like this. But one of the things I like about this Avatar movie is the fact that Neytiri, she starts to question whether or not she made the right decision by doing what she did with Jake Scully, because she sees that Jake doesn't value the spiritual aspects of their culture the way that she does. She sees how much hardship that her relationship with him has caused on her extended family and her planet. And at the end of the day, Jake is not one of them. He's one of the people that they're fighting. And so is Spider. And this is a theme that you see within the new Avatar movie. There's another character that operates in the same capacity, except she is the shadow of Neytiri, a character by the name of Varang. And she's paired up with Jake Scully's shadow, which is the Colonel Quaritch, who in this one has been put into an avatar body, just like Jake has been put into an avatar body. And they collaborate with the colonists as opposed to fighting the colonists, but the inference is still the same. You have this white or foreign influence among these native people, and Neytiri in the third Avatar movie, she feels some kind of way about this. Did I make the right decision by aligning myself with a descendant of my oppressor? Let's begin.
But what Neytiri must do is she must grow. She has to, because her children depend on it. Her children are her teachers, and not just her teachers, they're also Jake's teachers. And I love that Jim allowed Jake and Neytiri to recognize that, to discover the strength and courage in all of their children, and to accept when they needed to be guided by them.
Yeah, I think that was one of the best.
Interesting what she just said right there. Very, very interesting. Very interesting what she just said right there. So I mentioned before how Jake Scully, how problematic he is in the connection with colonization. But there was one last thing that she actually said. I stopped a little bit too quick. Go ahead and keep playing it.
Seeds between the two of them. I'm not going to spoil it, but when you guys are talking about it, I was like, damn,
Oh
this is
my
hitting
God.
like a different level.
No, and to see a child, when a child is vulnerable and needs you, it doesn't matter what the child looks like, and I love the fact that Neytiri proves once and once again that she is not V through and through, and love will always be what conquers everything, you know?
That's really.
And there it is. Love will conquer everything. Well, she did have a point about the last part that she said, that it's the right thing to do to help a child in need. But that last part, love will conquer everything. Love will conquer everything. I have to ask the question, so what exactly does that mean when someone says that love will conquer everything? Well, what if the person you love is a white supremacist? What if the person you love is a murderer? What if the person that you love is a colonist, a colonizer? Will love conquer their behavior? What if they don't respect the group of people that you come from? They may love you individually, but what if they don't love your people? Will love conquer that? That's a question we have to ask. But before we move to the next segment, please be sure to press the subscribe button, like the video, share it, make a comment in the comment section, leave a line or two in the chat box, and follow us on TikTok and X. It takes a lot of time and effort for us to put these live streams together, as well as our videos, and we really would need your support in order for us to keep on making these videos and having these conversations that we definitely appreciate. We want to be a part of. Now that we've done that, let's go ahead and move on to the next part. So she says that love conquers all. Now, why exactly is Zoe saying that? Does she have anything in common with this character? I know it's fiction. We already know that it's a fictitious character, that Neytiri is not real. She's not blue. But there are a lot of there are indeed a lot of parallels between Zoe and this character and some of the other characters that she's played, most of the characters, in fact, that she's played in all of her high-profile movies, for the exception of Drumline with Nick Cannon. And here is the parallel. There it is. Zoe Saldana is a swirler. Her husband, Marco Perengo, which his name is, I believe he's an Italian fellow. And there's their children. The two on the right, the twins. I believe they're twins. Those children are definitely theirs. The one on the one that Zoe's holding, I'm not sure if that's her child or his kid from a previous relationship, but never to say the least, that is their family. And Zoe Saldana is a divester. She's a swirler. And maybe that's why she's saying that love conquers all, and why Neytiri is a racist, because she doesn't want to be colonized, and she's wondering if she made the right decision by lying down with the colonizers. Maybe this is why that Zoe is talking like this. Has she had these kind of discussions on her own in her own time of reflection? Maybe. Well, I don't want to go there, but this is precisely why she's talking like this. Now, some of you will probably say, you look at this and you'll say, you know what, Rashad, you're doing the most. You're being extra. One has nothing to do with the other. Just because she has a preference to be with Caucasian men, that doesn't necessarily mean anything. One has nothing to do with the other. That doesn't say anything about her. All right? Just because she likes her zaddies, and most of the roles she's been in where she's in a relationship with the zaddy, that has no bearing on her career. Maybe that wasn't her choice. Those are just the roles that CSS, her agency, and her manager put her out there because she's best, because those were the roles that were available. We can all say that, right? We all can say that. Well, some of you guys may think that I'm on this Hotep woke stuff and I'm reaching, but I want to show you something else about her that gives you a little bit more insight into this woman's psyche. Pay attention.
Good that I've ever done in my life is because of you. Thank you so much. And to my husband with that beautiful hair, you're just...
Whoa. Beautiful hair. Did she say beautiful hair? I guess you can't say that his hair is beautiful, but the optics of this black woman up on stage telling her white husband, this white man, that he has beautiful hair, which is the same as saying he has good hair, is quite telling about the mentality of Zoe Saldana. Now, Zoe is the same age as me. I mean, she's a couple of months older than I am. I was born in August. She was born in June, but we're the same age. We're both young Gen Xers. And if you know anything about Gen X, we were born in a time where a lot of us, we tried to get away from expressions like good hair. That was something that people of my grandparents' generation said. If you read books like, for instance, the autobiography of Malcolm X told by Alex Haley and Malcolm X talked about the conch. If you've seen the movie, that's one of the first things that's the first thing you see about Malcolm is his obsession with having quote unquote good hair, and the extent that black people went to then, and some of us still do today, go to make our hair look like the Europeans. You have black men that would literally fry their hair, destroy their hair follicles in order to straighten their hair out to make their hair look more acceptable, to look more white. And that was what was called quote unquote good hair. Moving on to the 60s and 70s, many of the black folks of that generation started to reject those ideas, which is where you have the hairstyle of the afro, and the afro was actually called a natural back in that time. And part of the reason why it was called a natural was because it's a hairstyle where you didn't have any chemicals, you didn't straighten your hair out, you didn't press your hair, you didn't put in any extensions. All you did was grow your hair out, you combed it, and you wanted to make yourself look as natural as you actually are as a human being. So the fact that Zoe is the same age as me and she's talking like this is very telling. But why is she talking like this? I mean, both of us are Americans. We both were born here in this country, but there's probably maybe some other reason why it is she's talking like this. And you look at her husband, the man is, he's a little bit, I guess, bashful, or maybe he's thinking like, boy, here she goes again, worshiping me. She probably could do a whole lot better for herself, but damn it, she loved herself as Addie. So I better just take this check until possibly I can get a divorce and take half of what's hers. But let's see what happens.
The biggest honor in my life is being your partner. You hung the moon and our beautiful, perfect suns, Psy, Bowie, and Zen. They fill our skies every night with stars. My grandmother came to this country in 1960.
I want to run that back just for a second. Look at this guy's face. I mean, look at his face. Now, when I first saw this, I said to myself, is he in cringe by what she's saying? Or is he really super proud of her? Because it looks like to me, the way he's looking at her, he's kind of in cringe by what she's saying. He's cringing behind what she's saying. He's looking at her like this heifer, you know, she has all this, she's enamored by my hair and my white skin, but she's got more money than me and more status than I do. Way more. She probably can do a whole lot better for herself, but she thinks that a bum like me is well, I'm not gonna call the man a bum. I'm not gonna say that. But she may be thinking like, this dude, this chick, she's really feeling me. I don't understand why. Well, I'm waiting my 10 years. If it can work for Oliver Martinez, who's French, and he can get Halle Berry to pay some child support and alimony for breaking up with his woman, I could do the same thing eventually. I'm just waiting, buying my time. So, anyway.
Country in 1961. I am a proud child of immigrant parents with dreams and dignity and hardworking hands. And I am the first American of Dominican origin to accept an Academy Award. And I know I will not be the last. I hope.
And there it is. And there it is right there. That's the reason why she's running around saying things like your beautiful hair to this YT man. This is part of the reason why she's talking this beautiful hair to this YT man. She's not invoking on being proud to be a Black American, because technically, although Zoe Saldana's people are from the Dominican Republic, she was born in New York City, which makes her an American, a Black American at that. But she identifies with being a Dominican. And for the record, being Dominican is no race. It's a nationality, just like being American. Being American is a nationality. There is no Dominican race. There is no American race. It is a nationality. But although her and I are Black Americans, she sees no problem in some of the vernacular that she uses, no matter how outdated it is, the implications that it provides, the historical context of what she actually is saying. And this is the problem. This is specifically why we don't need individuals like her and some of these other individuals who come from these foreign nations representing Black America. Because at the end of the day, they are not us. They look like us, but they're not us. Their worldview represents that of the dominant society. And in this case, they don't identify with Black America on any level or another. Now, they'll use us to get to where they need to go. Because if you remember, Zoe Saldana started out in Drumline. She started out as Nick Cannon's girlfriend. She started out as Bernie Mac's daughter in the movie Guess Who? But as soon as she got to the top, she's now able to command a 7-figure, in this case, probably now an 8-figure salary. And she's reached the zenith of her career by winning an Oscar. She went ahead and she decided to go full blown in terms of distancing herself from anything that resembles Black, and specifically Black American. And ladies and gentlemen, this is what it looks like when you have a celebrity that identifies with their oppressor. I'm not going to play this, but if you guys ever get a chance, there's a video called The Role of the Bastard as a Factor in History that talks about this whole concept of the tragic mulatto and how it plays in terms of undermining Black society. This is something that's been problematic and prevalent within Latin American society, particularly with a lot of Afro Latinos, and particularly this is something that you see in places like Haiti, this color system in places like Jamaica, and to a less extent, even here within the United States, although technically there was never any legal caste system based on color. But explains specifically within Latin America, we're going to keep on that, why is it that there's so much color confusion among many of them? Why do you have so many Afro-Latinos, particularly from the place where Zoe Saldana comes from? They don't look at themselves as being Black people. They look at themselves as being something different than the rest of us. It's an explanation in terms for why that is. But of course, I'm looking here in the message, and some of you guys on here, I'm looking at some cats that disagree, or they do agree. So I'm going to give you an opportunity to go ahead and call in. I'm going to go ahead and put the Zoom link inside of the description, and you can call in through the Zoom link, and we'll be able to discuss this. You can go ahead and talk about this. So, give me 1 moment. And this is the movie Insurrectionist. Give me 30 seconds. So the Zoom link is now in the description. You can go ahead and hit the Zoom link. I'm looking for some calls. We can go ahead and talk a little bit about this issue and discuss this topic. And I want you guys to answer the question when you call in. Does Zoe Saldana have an identity problem? Does she identify more with a dominant society, or does she identify with us in Black society here in the U.S.? I'd like for you guys to go ahead and call in. Anybody here want to call in? Somebody from Reparations Nation. Go ahead and give us a call. See if we can get somebody on the Zoom. Go ahead and call. I'd like to have some listeners, some callers come in. We can chop it up a little bit about this. My brother from Reparations Nations, I see you there. You want to call in? You're perfectly in your bounds to do so. Definitely can chop it up with you. You've been a supporter of a few of my videos. So I don't think anybody's going to call in. So no one has anything to say about this live stream. So I think we're going to go ahead and we're going to call it a day. I want to thank anyone that listened, that tuned in. Brothers from Reparations Nations, thank you. And anyone else out there, and please check it out. And this concludes our live stream for this evening. I am your host, Rashad, the movie Insurrectionist. I want to thank you for again tuning in. And remember to subscribe, like the video, share it, and follow us on TikTok and X. And remember, the theatrical release will never be televised. Later.